Sitting in the tent in the dark on a very windy evening, and not where I'd planned to be or hoped to be. This is Tony Hobbs's annual winter trip up to the Highlands in the hope of finding snow to ski on. This year I really thought it would happen. The forecast for the tops was pretty windy, but it looked as though we'd be able to reach low-level snow and everything would be fine. However, it has turned out to be much windier than we expected. When we got to the high-level car park, we got out the car and were nearly blown off our feet. And it only took a few minutes before we realised it's probably not a good idea to head off up to the snow we could see not far away in this. So we retreated down into the glen and walked round to here, where the wind is strong enough that I am glad we're not much higher, and also glad that I've got the Hilleberg Soulo, which is, making a bit of a noise, but standing up to the wind fine, as you'd expect. And tomorrow, by the look of the forecast, it's going to be much the same, which is that it's forecasting light winds with the occasional strong gust, whereas what we've actually got are moderate winds with frequent, very strong gusts, plus a smattering of rain, or at one point as we were walking here, hail as well. Still, it's February in the Highlands, and any sort of weather, barring hot, can be expected. So we will see what tomorrow brings and make our plans then. But for now, it's time to make some macaroni cheese and have dinner. More later in the morning, probably. 8 o'clock in the morning, temperature is 2 degrees. It's still windy, not as windy as it was in the evening, and there is light snow falling. I say falling, it's just about horizontal, and the sky is overcast. Well, time for some coffee and then see what the day brings. It's still very windy. The snow has stopped for now, though more is forecast, and we've decided we're going to go for a more sheltered campsite tonight, and we're going to wander into the forest and see what we can find there. Certainly while it stays like this, we're not going to go up high. The clouds are still very low. I imagine on the summits, if you can stand up, it's probably a blizzard. So we will see what the rest of the day brings. And it looks as though, I think snow or sleet is starting again. But we're not going to stay here all day, so time to have another mug of coffee and pack up and move on. This is camp just before packing up and heading off into the forest over there, where hopefully we'll find a more sheltered site. Around Tony Bridge, the Nethy, and cloudy hills in the distance. It is a very blustery day. Tony with his GoPro. It's still very windy. The cloud is down to about 800 metres. The top of Maple Petrel in the far distance there is just clear. We're now getting into slightly denser woodland. It's lovely seeing all the regenerating forest around the big old pines. It's hard going following the river through tusky, boggy, heathery ground, but it's worth it for the forest and the river. This is a section where the Nethy is a bit wider and is eroding the banks in places, taking down quite a few trees. And it is very noisy. Woke up to a dusting of snow and a temperature a fraction above freezing. There's ice in the water bottles. It's calm down here in the forest, and had a warm night, and I've now got my first cup of coffee ready to drink. Yesterday we eventually found this site, which is actually more comfortable and less bumpy than it looks. More comfortable than the night before, in fact. We're deep in Nethy forest here, and given the forecast, I think we'll probably stay here for a second night and go for an explore in the forest, perhaps go back and look at that ravine through which the river Nethy runs, and then walk out tomorrow. But as always, we'll see what the day brings, and it's very pleasant down here amongst the juniper and the Scots pine. Some hazy sunshine and a very light breeze this morning, intermittent breeze. High up, the clouds are still moving pretty fast, but they are much thinner now. But it's probably better to be down here in the woods than high up. We can't see any high summits from here. We are in a shallow valley, so you can't tell whether the clouds are on the tops or not. But whether or not, I'm sure it is very windy up there. The tent was covered with snow. You can still see a little bit of it there, but it is now slowly thawing and hopefully drying out. There's a lot of condensation inside, as we'd come down from that ridge up there, which is quite broad, which we walked along. The track runs up there and then it comes down to cross this little burn here. And if I swing round through the woods, you can see there's Tony's tent, and much more blending into the forest green tent than my red one. But the red one usually only gets used high up when it's snowy, because it is quite bright. And a swing round showing both tents and the woods. And now I think another mug of coffee, and then probably head back up onto the ridge up there and have a look at the Nethy and the deep ravine it runs through there. So back into the tent. Well, actually, given that it's warming up outside, I think I'll make the coffee here and stay out. I was not expecting to sit outside on this trip. I'm now feeling I should have brought a chair, which would have been much more use than the snow gear, snowshoes, skis, crampons, ice axe, which are all in the car. But I didn't. But I did bring this mat so I can sit outside on the wet ground and make another cup of coffee, which, as I say, for February, fairly early February at that, this is most unusual. But although the clouds are still racing across the sky, it's actually calm down here and now relatively warm. The scattering of snow that fell overnight is now beginning to thaw, and I'm going to get the stove going. This is the little fire Maple Petrel Ultralight stove, which works pretty well. I might need to get the windscreen. There's just a little breeze, you may have noticed there. Yeah, I think it's worth just putting the windscreen around it, which will speed up the boiling time. The canister is more than half empty, and it is noticeable compared with a regulated stove that it's not quite as powerful as it was, but you know, that's to be expected. It'll probably be better now because the temperature's gone up. When I had it on earlier, the temperature was only just above freezing, and the canister and stove have both been on the ground in the porch all night. Anyway, let's see how it does. And I have just about got the knack of fitting this onto the stove. So that's it. Well, it's a healthier roar now when I turn it up. And what I'm making is some more of this no normal outdoor coffee in tubes, which is, you know, convenient in terms of use, and it's quite tasty. However, a whole tube is relatively heavy. I will use it again though, and you just squeeze out a dollop. It says a teaspoon, but that seems to be about right. Obviously you can vary how much, you know, how strong you want it or not. And of course the thing with it is there's no mess other than a bit of residue left in the mug. Well, bubbles appearing. Of course, if a remote canister stove like this slows down because of the temperature or almost empty cartridge, you can shake the cartridge. You can hear the roar goes up then, or you can put your hands around it to warm it a bit. If cooking in the porch, you can put the canister in the inner tent, and I've even in the past, you know, put it in the canister in the sleeping bag to speed up, you know, the flow of gas. Though overall, I'd still say for sub-zero temperatures, better off with either a regulated canister top stove or a remote stove with a preheat tube, so you can turn the canister upside down. So at the moment, it only means waiting a couple of minutes more before there is hot water for the coffee. And we'll just see now how long this is going to take. Tony has wandered off up that way, I think, in search of a phone connection. There's nothing down here, of course. We're in a, you know, this gentle valley. You can see the slopes rising up, the woods going up on either side. We're certainly not within line of sight of anywhere at all down here, although not that far from roads, but it feels very remote. Yeah. And the water is close to boiling, and the little breeze has stopped for now. It is supposed to have showers and snow today. It's one reason why I am only just outside the tent door, so I could bundle everything in fairly quickly, you know, if it starts to sleet or snow or the wind really gets up. But as it is, it's wonderful to be able to sit outside. And look at all the trees, the clouds racing by, white clouds now, with little bits of blue sky, and surrounded by quite a lot of juniper bushes, thickets of which did impede our progress yesterday, and we had to work our way around them. I have learnt from sore experience that fighting your way through a juniper thicket is not a good idea, either for your skin, your clothes, or your pack. They are amazingly spiky. Now, I'll give the canister another shake. There we go. Oh, and a bit more sunshine now. But only for a second or two. It is quite mild. I mean, the temperature is about 5 or 6 degrees, but you see, with this fairly thick lab generator jacket on, I'm warm enough, and don't even feel I need a hat. Yeah, we have boiling. So turn the sound off. And as always, sudden silence. It's not the noisiest of stoves, but it's not the quietest either. So put that somewhere where it's not going to tip over, and then give it a good stir to turn the paste into liquid and into coffee that I can drink. And I've already had some porridge with dried fruit added for breakfast, but I'll have somewhere here I have a flapjack bar which I shall have with the coffee, and then go for a wander in the woods, as we're going to be here again tonight, and see what I can see. This is a very peaceful camp. The lower part of the old track before the burn by which we're camped, which is the other side of the flat area down there. But as you can see, there's a lot of blowdowns on the track, some of them quite old. It's a long time since this track was much used, but luckily none of them are too difficult to scramble over, though it does slow you down a little. I swing back through the woods over my trekking poles, and looking back up. I'm going back up now to see if I can get a good view into the deep ravine, canyon, chasm, whatever it is, that the Nethy runs through. So I'm just taking lots of things in my Paramo Aspera smock pocket. Has that nice big kangaroo pocket on the front, but no pack, because I'm probably only going to be out for a couple of hours at most. Anyway, now to get over all these blowdowns again. Wandering about in the forest, I came across this beautiful, partly frozen pool, surrounded by a ring of trees. One of those magical places you can discover by random wandering, really, away from paths. And I haven't even reached the edge of the ravine I am hoping to see yet. It's over there beyond the pond somewhere. Let's go and see if I can find it. Well, I reached the edge of the steep descent down to the river, and it is steep, and steep the other side. The river has really carved a way through the landscape here. However, as it's heavily wooded, there's only a few spots I've found where I can actually see much. This is one of the better ones. I can hear the river all the time, but only see it occasionally, and mostly it's just glimpses through the trees. There's a bit more of an opening here, so you can see down to the rushing water. It is spectacular though. I must come back and wander into it from below, downstream of here. You can't see the mountains from most places either because of being deep in the forest, but from this spot there's a view up to what I think is the very end of the long broad ridge that leads up to Bynock Moor. You can't see the river from here, it's down there in the trees, and also see that it is clouding over now, and snow is forecast for later. So again, we will see what happens. Today was the warmest day yet, with a bit of sunshine, but this looks like being the coldest night yet. It's about an hour after dark and the temperature's already down to 0.1 degrees Celsius, so it'll be freezing very soon. And just as it was getting dark, there was some soft hail falling, though this has stopped for the moment. And now I'm going to start preparing my 2 or possibly 3-part supper. And I thought I'd just go through the sort of things I eat on a trip like this. Now, sometimes, as some of the other videos show, I do use the specialist backpacking mountaineering meals from outdoor shops, expensive though they are, but actually more often I go to the local supermarket, which in my case is the Co-op. So almost everything I'm going to show you now has come from the Co-op. Well, as people probably know if they've watched videos or read my stuff over the years, I tend to start the evening with a couple of packets of cup of soup, which is a great way to replace liquid, have a hot drink to start the evening, and that's what I'll be doing shortly. These ones are cream of mushroom. I think the ones this was last night. I think the ones I've got for tonight, potato and leek. I've also, I think, got a packet of golden vegetable, but you know, there's a variety. So if I'm out for several nights, I don't have to have the same one each night. Now, this evening's meal is going to be these chili noodles, which are reasonably easy to prepare, as long as you remember not to get the sauce out of the packet all over your fingers, and which cook pretty quickly, and I find them quite tasty. The other evenings I've had bachelor's pasta and sauce, which is okay, but a bit bland on its own, so I usually, as I did this time, add some extra cheese to it. And another cheese dish, Idaho mashed potato with cheese. Again, a bit bland on its own, so I put some more cheese in it. But those are my evening meals. Now, because it's cold, for breakfast I'll be making porridge, Quaker oats so simple, go down well. These are golden syrup flavour, just golden syrup flavour. I mean, you can taste it, but I wouldn't say it was strong. And I usually, if I can find them, add, oh well, here somewhere I have got some dried fruit, raisin sultanas mix, which I add to the porridge, which makes it a bit more filling and a bit tastier. That's breakfast, but sometimes lunch, which is a series of snacks, and it may start almost immediately after breakfast. It did this morning. I had the porridge, I had some coffee, and then I had some more coffee, and I had a bar. Sometimes in warm weather, I may carry oatcakes, Primula cheese spread, you know, and stop for a sort of lunch. In cold weather, I find it better to simply just snack whenever I stop, but never stop for too long. And so a variety of bars, I find naked bars quite tasty. This is a Co-op flapjack bar. This is also a different sort of Co-op flapjack bar. This is a Grab Energy flapjack bar. You get the idea. A series of bars, mostly sort of oat and grain based, and I snack on those during the day. So that is what I eat. And as I said in an earlier clip, I have this normal outdoor coffee at the moment, which I make 1 or 2 mugs every morning. And I also somewhere lost that too, have some instant hot chocolate, which is what I have in the evening. I don't want the caffeine from the coffee to keep me awake. And that's it. Quite simple, but quite filling, and it keeps me going. So it's making me hungry talking about it, so I shall now get the water for my soup underway. Woke up on this, the third and last morning of the trip, to find snow on the ground, ice in the water bottles. The temperature at the moment is 1 degree. Overnight it fell to minus 2.7. So a real winter night. It's calm at the moment. And the sky is grey with hints of blue. I know that more snow is forecast. We will see what happens. It's very peaceful at the moment, but I shall get back to my first mug of coffee. And now starting to pack up, and heavy snow is falling. It was sunny not that long ago and thought the tent might dry partly. It's not going to now. The snow is getting thicker all the time. Still, I would rather have this than rain. So now to finish packing up and finish my second cup of coffee. Well, we're on the walk out now. We've come through the section of Nethy forest in the trees. We're now in the regenerating area before we go back into the trees as Glenmore Forest. But we're on a good path now. We've finally left behind all the blowdowns. And there you can see Tony. So I'd better stop recording and catch up with him.